So I'm just gonna add Bobby to the live.
Hey,
Hi, Bobby.
you right?
Yes, I'm good. I'm good. You ready to go?
I'm ready. I've had to come out in the car because my daughter's running around and she ain't gonna be quiet. So I thought, let me get some space.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. So I'm going to start now because quite a lot of people have started to join. But I just want to set the context for everyone. I just want everyone to understand, obviously, that this is you sharing your personal lived experience with everybody. And this isn't necessarily indicative of, everyone's experience because we know, everyone's journey is unique. And we're not here from a place of judgment. We're here from a place of understanding. We're here from a place of learning. And we're here from a place of insight. So I want people to know and understand that you've already paid your dues. And this is just simply you telling your story. And I just want anyone to know, obviously, those in the live, if they have any questions for you, obviously they can pose those at the end of the discussion where we're able to see them. We're conversing, we probably might not be able to see everything. So, well, the reason I actually decided to reach out to you was really two things. The first reason is because your YouTube videos have started popping up in my feed. And so naturally, I started watching them and I got to learn, a bit of your story. And as a legal professional, particularly someone who's interested in criminal law, naturally I was quite intrigued by what you had to say. And then the second reason is because I just feel as though conversations like these are not had enough, particularly within the Black community. And these conversations are necessary. And what I'm hoping is that, this conversation will be beneficial to everybody, but particularly to those who require some, form of proper perspective in their life. So that's what I'm hoping that we accomplish from this. Just then, in terms of setting the structure, how I want us to go through this interview, I just want you to start by talking about your history a little bit and how that led you into a life of crime. I then want us to go in and touch on aspects of your trial and then talk about your life in incarceration, and then just end on all the wonderfully positive things that you're doing in your life right now. So hopefully people will be able to follow your story properly. So Bobby, if you want us to go ahead and start just sort of explaining your history to, persons who might not be aware of you. I've asked quite a few of my legal colleagues to join. So for those who aren't aware of you, just go into your history and how that sort of led up to a life of crime, essentially.
Okay, so my name is Bobby Kasanga. Now just turned 34 years old last week. Originally from Congo. My parents are Congolese. I came to the UK aged 3, and we initially lived in Dulwich for a year or so before we moved to the Gloucester estate in Peckham in 1991, I believe, 1991 or 1992. The Gloucester estate was, for me, looking back, I didn't see it as a crime-ridden place. As a young kid, you just see it as a fun space to go and hang around. There's a little park area where we used to go and play. Later on, as you grew up, you heard that of all the stories that happened in that Gloucester estate. But as a young kid, you didn't really sort of experience that yourself. So it wasn't until they knocked down that whole estate and then we moved to Justin Street in Peckham. Um, from primary school age, all I cared about was football. That's all I cared about. That's all I talked about. That's what I wanted to do. That was the only activity I cared about. And I guess it's when you get into coming to year 7 and you're sort of mixing for the first time with people from year 7 to year 11. So 11-year-olds are now mixing with 16-year-olds. So that's the first time you start seeing all the older people and see what they get up to and how you feel that is cool. And one of my brothers was in year 11, the other was in year 9. So seeing that happen, seeing what they were getting up to, opened your eyes to more things. Whereas in primary school, you're very innocent. You don't know about the world. As soon as I went into secondary school, everything sort of changed for me. Then it was a thing that where you start becoming interested in girls properly for the first time, trying to impress them. And there's always that sense of feeling girls like this particular certain type of guy as well. So you want to sort of play up to that sort of persona. And
Right.
at the same time, football was always my joy, but I wasn't concentrating it as much as I was when I was younger. And even though I was given opportunities, it was more so of trying to keep up with what everyone else was doing. The excitement of what I saw the sort of bad boys doing was sort of the allure to, oh, those guys seem cool, I want to hang around with them. And
Right.
I explained it in previous videos how I actually joined the Peckham Boys was that someone wanted to rob my hat. And when you try to rob my hat, other people go, no, you can't rob him. That's so-and-so's younger brother. And they're, oh, why didn't you say you're one of us? And that was literally how I joined the gangs.
Okay. So this was in fact a gang, because I was going to ask you, was this more of a sort of like a clique, or was it actually a gang? So it was.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we called ourselves the Peckham Boys. So there's a different hierarchy. So there's the older Peckham Boys, there's the younger Peckham Boys, there's the Peckham Kids. So there's actually literally a hierarchy of the different age groups that you join.
Okay. So if you were to say like some of the predominant reasons as to why you started, engaging in crime, what would you say were some of those primary reasons?
I would say my older brother's influence. He was already involved in it, and I always say siblings. So hay fever's killing me. So I would say siblings play a big role in their younger siblings' lives as well. Because my brother I always said to my brother, like, had he been a lawyer, I would have been a lawyer. Had he been a doctor, I would have been a doctor. He chose the
Right.
gangs, so I decided to follow in that path as well. But also is my own greed as well, my own personal satisfaction of wanting to be in a gang, wanting to be cool. Done it to get money. I've done it to impress the girls. So there's a combination of all. I can't just pinpoint to one thing. There's a combination of various things that made me want to join the gangs.
Okay. So would you say in terms of your household, was it a sense of, was there a lack of a father figure? Do you think perhaps if that were the case, maybe things would have panned out differently? Was
No,
that no?
no, not at all. Because I grew up with my uncle and auntie, who raised me as their own, and it was a household where there was a mother and father, and it was
Okay.
similar. And what I found later growing up was that in majority of the African households, both parents were there. Where my counterparts and my Caribbean friends, a lot of them were just their mothers. Only their mothers were there. But in regards to the African households, I found that a lot of the parents were there. But what was traditional now to be African is very cool. To be African is very, very cool. Growing up in the 90s, to be African in school wasn't the coolest thing. So the Caribbean boys always seemed to be the ones that were the coolest people. And you
Okay.
also try to emulate some of those sort of behaviors, because sometimes they were allowed that more than we had, like a strict African parent. But don't get me wrong, there's a lot of Caribbean parents who was also strict, but it was almost felt like there was always the cool kids who were allowed that. But in my household, both my parents were there, and it was just with me and my older brother, it was just us wanting to rebel because someone said there's a party, you ask him to go to the party, no, you can't go to the party. And then when you
Right.
come back to school on a Monday, you hear everybody's talking about the party. Oh, it was fun. And you think, oh, we never allowed that. So because of that, then you want to start rebelling and trying to do things just to get yourselves out of the house.
Okay. And so there came a point in time where you actually started, becoming involved in robberies. So if you can just explain that aspect of it as well,
So
how that came
originally,
to be.
yeah, so originally I was doing street robberies. And I remember those are the era when everyone in London used to wear sort of the Scott jackets and the Avirex jackets, and I couldn't
Mm.
afford any of those jackets. I couldn't afford to have a mobile phone those times as well. And I remember my friends used to go, we're going on a robbery, and my conscience was always like, it's not really my thing. But you go along with the crowd, so everyone will be doing robberies. I won't take part in the robberies. I'll just be there, I guess, as a bit of muscle, and then everyone will come back with their phones, sell it, get money, go to JD's, buy trainers, and then it got to the point where everyone's buying trainers every week, and I'm not being able to buy trainers. So I said, you know, I'm gonna do this as well. So I remember, actually, I talked about this last time as well. I remember when I actually done my first robbery, like it didn't even feel right with me. I thought what I was doing was wrong, but I just sort of was trying to keep up with what everyone else was doing. And I remember one of my friends hit the guy and his glasses broke, and I explained it before. I actually cried when I went back home because I was like, what the hell am I involved in? But by the
Right,
next day,
because I was going to ask you, is it a situation where you sort of become devoid of emotion, or did you, you know, genuinely feel bad about what you were doing?
no, 100%. And I think even with the baddest of baddest guys, we all got emotions. We all love our parents. We all love our siblings. So even the guys who you think that, oh, his guy is a killer, he's a murderer, he has emotions. I don't think no one can be so cold-blooded. They just do it. And as much as they may forget about it later on, those things must play in your head. You can't just
Right.
forget those things. They must play in your head somehow. So with me, there was always a lot of emotions when these things happen, but you try to mask it out the next day by going to buy the trainers and justifying it with everyone else who, and probably individually, was all going through the same things when we go back home. Because when it's just you and your thoughts,
Yeah.
you think about things. But when you're together, everyone has to have some sort of bravado and show face, basically.
Okay. And so there came a point where you were actually arrested for this.
Yeah.
And so I just want you to talk about sort of that, how that came about.
Yeah, so things has escalated to the point that where I moved from petty street robberies to security van robberies, where I was robbing cash in transit vans, and the money was lucrative, being 18, 19, and you're getting £25,000 at a time, sharing it with about 3 or 4 of you guys, so you end up with like 5 grand. That was so intoxicating because you're thinking, so wow, it's all this cash. At that point, I was like, oh, forget football, because this is where all the money is. Like, I'm
Mm,
basically a footballer. I'm earning 5 grand every few days. And it got to the point that where originally I said, you know what, I'm only going to do one. And after I done that one, I spent all my money within a week. And
right.
it's like, damn, I better do that again. Instead of just maybe cutting your losses, okay, look, that money didn't belong to you. You've done it. Now you've got it. Stop it now. But you now start believing that money belonged to you. Oh, I spent all my money. I need to go and do another one. And then the cycle begins. And then eventually end up getting nicked. It was on the 13th of March, I believe, 2007. It was Rains Park train station, me and 2 other young people. And we'd robbed £27,000 from Rains Park train station when they was doing a delivery. And while getting away, we got through Wimbledon and police arrested us there.
Okay. So you were arrested, did you have a trial?
Yeah, I had a trial. So I came up with I tried to come up with the craziest sort of story, defense story ever, to say the 2 people I was with. So I said the people that that was with me, one of them got away, one of them got caught. But I told the other guy to say it wasn't him, and I said to say it was 2 known killers in Peckham, made up names basically. And I thought I could
Right.
try to take this sort of defense to trial, say I was forced and coerced by 2 older people from my area who forced me to do this. These people didn't exist, but I thought by trying to put that out there, because what happened, there was a murder that just happened recently, and I was linked to that. So through the back of that, it was, can I try to use that story to my advantage? But it didn't work out. The jury found me guilty.
All right. And so did you actually serve time for that, or did you get a suspended
Yeah,
sentence?
no,
What
no.
happened?
I served time, so I got given a 4 year sentence for the one robbery, but then they added an extra year on top because just before my trial, I'd been given bail, and they'd found me with proceeds from another crime, which is linked to cash boxes, but they couldn't link me to the actual robbery itself. So they added an extra year on top in the London Crown Court. So I had to do, I had a 5 year sentence to do 2.5 years.
Okay. So you served that time and then you were released.
Yeah.
And then did there come a point in time where you sort of, your space of robberies began again?
Yep. So literally within a few months of getting out, and what had happened, I messed up my probation, and probation was looking for me, and I thought, oh, my license doesn't run out till another couple of years, but I didn't know all I had to do was go and do 28 days, and then I'll be released. So I just thought, oh my god, they want me again, and then I went on a run, and while I was on a run, I'm going to do a story about this on my YouTube channel soon, but life on the run was very difficult because you're always looking over your shoulder, and then you can't get money. So the only way I knew how to get money was to do the things that I always do, which was security vans. So I started going back to do security van robberies,
So
and
it was it a situation where you would say then it literally became habitual for you because
yeah,
that's what you knew what to do.
100%. And I knew that's the quickest way for me to make money. I could try and I remember I even got a job at a police clinic for a little while, and I remember seeing my paycheck for the first time, thinking, "What the hell is this?" Like I worked 1 month, and that wasn't realistic. My point of thinking wasn't realistic. That's the real world. It's not the criminal world where you make money illegally. In the legal world, this is what people do. You pay your taxes and so on. So for me at the time, being young, was like, "What the hell is this?" I want to do what I know best. And yeah, it became habitual. I started doing back the same thing.
Right. So is it a situation where while you were out on bail, did you ever come to the realization that, do you know what? I'm actually putting a price tag on my freedom. Did that ever occur to you or?
Yes, 100%. I mean, I hated every part of it. I hated the part of being on the run. I hated the part of being wanted. I just wanted to live a normal life. And at that point, I was thinking, oh, it's too late. And I was thinking, what the hell am I gonna do? And I always told myself, you know what, I'm gonna hand myself in at the end of the year. But I said, before I hand myself in, I'm gonna try and make as much money as possible. So by the time I come out of prison, I have something to fall back on. And that was a stupid idea that I had. But what I didn't realize, all I was doing was adding more cases to my
Right.
to my eventual arrest.
And so you got arrested again.
Yeah.
You had trial.
Oh,
And what was the,
this time around, I pleaded
it,
guilty. I pleaded guilty.
okay.
I said, you know what? I'm not gonna take the risk to go to trial. I kind of got caught bang to rats anyway. And I mean, I could have tried to fight it, and I had different grounds I could have fought it on. But I said, you know what? I can't be asked. My daughter's being born. I just want to go and serve my time. I come out as soon as I can. So initially, I was quite surprised. The judge gave me, I think it was 3.5 years, even less than I had for the previous robbery. And I was thinking, but because I was on license, I had to serve the rest of my license and then start my new sentence. But then, like 3 months into that sentence, police came. I was in HMP ISIS in Southeast London, a prison in Southeast London, and police came and arrested me while I was there. Said, "Oh, we found about 5 more cases of you on it." And I was like,
Right.
"Oh, Jesus Christ!" And I just pleaded guilty. That I remember they took me to Plumstead police station, and they're like, "We got you for more cases." I'm like, "It's not me. It's not me." And then they showed me like a picture of someone doing a robbery in underpass in Canning Town. It was Iceland, and it was blatantly me. You can see it's me, but I'm looking at the picture. I'm like, I don't know who that is. But in the
Right.
end, I just pleaded guilty.
Okay, so on that second occasion, on your trial, when you're sitting in the dock, is it a situation where, what are your thoughts and emotions that you have while you're, living that experience?
Oh, I just thought, what a stupid idiot you are. Like I was regretting everything about my life at the point. I was like, bloody hell, you was quite clever. You was in the top set in school. You got good GCSEs. You was doing your A levels in college. So why the hell have you allowed this sort of life of crime and just to take over? Even the point that you came out of prison and gone back and asked for them. So I felt like a proper what we call over here a waste man. I was like, oh, you're a waste man. Like I hated myself for it, and I hated the fact that my daughter, who had been born while I was in prison, was now seeing her father go back to jail again when she was only 18 months old. So I hated that whole
Right.
part, and that was what made me say, no, let me just plead guilty. So asked the judge for leniency to say, look, I've got a daughter, I want to come out and do the best for her. Yeah, I felt like an idiot. I felt like a proper idiot.
So on that occasion, you said you got 3 years.
So no, they gave me 3 years, and then they came and arrested me again, and
Yeah.
altogether is like I had to do 5 years straight from 2010 to
Right. Okay.
2015. So it's like
Right.
effectively I was doing a 10-year sentence, but the way I was sentenced in two separate occasions plus my license, I
Mm-hmm.
got 3 years, then a 6 years, but altogether it meant I had to do 5 years behind bars, included plus the 3 years, 2.5 years that I done earlier. So it came together as like an 8-year sentence. Because I only spent about 6 months on the outside.
Okay. One thing I really want to know from you is how do you mentally equip yourself to deal with a long prison sentence, how do you even prep your mind to what you're about to face?
I would definitely say, yeah. I mean, people do it whichever way you want, but for me, you can't have a girlfriend. If
Mm,
it's never more than 2 years, you can't have a girlfriend because your mind will go elsewhere. You try to call her, you can't get through. You're thinking to yourself, what the hell is she up to? Who's she with? And she could be just innocent, just looking after the kids or doing, but it doesn't allow you, you don't sit well. So for me, if you want to go to jail and be at peace, you like tell your missus or your boyfriend, whoever it is, that, you know what, like, it's my mess up.
mhm.
You do what you need to do. If you, cause what women will always say, no, I'm gonna wait, I'll stay. Like, I saw it myself firsthand as well. Whereas that other people's in jail, different women, because their boyfriend's in jail, they'll be entertaining other guys. I saw it firsthand. So for me, it's like, who am I that's so special that someone can't do it to me? So I was like, no, I can't have a girlfriend while I'm in prison. So that's what would be my advice. I'm not. You might be married for 25 years. If you're married for 25 years, then definitely don't do that. But especially if you're in a new relationship, I don't know. That's one of the first things I'll do is like maybe don't break up, but maybe be realistic about what could potentially be happening outside. Because if you've got that as a mindset, it won't send you crazy in jail. Also,
Mm. I, okay.
I
No,
would
go
say,
ahead.
yeah, education. Go, just go and do a course. Do a course. I decided to do a degree in criminology and social policy and write 2 novels while I was in there. So that allowed me time to say, okay, when I get out, I've accomplished something. I've not just wasted my time in it. So that's why I tell people when you go to jail, see it as you're going away for boarding school to
Mm,
get a new learning, get new experiences. So don't just go and sit there and smoke weed and have fights. And when you come out, you're back to where you started. I'd made sure I networked. I made sure I gave everyone my book. So, and it's funny because everybody that was with me in prison, since I've come out, they all tell me the same thing. You know what? You said everything you're doing right now, you said you was gonna do. So it's about
right.
planning as well. So if you're given a certain amount of sentence, plan your sentence.
Yeah, because I mean, just running on from that, you talk about, the qualifications that you accomplished while you were in prison. It was Mental Health Awareness Week that had just passed. And would you say doing that course sort of helped you cope? Because I would imagine, everyone copes with things quite differently, but for you, was that something that helped you? And what other coping mechanisms did you implement to really assist you getting through that time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as religious as I once was. I'm more spiritual and believe in a higher power. I definitely think having faith in God helps, definitely, because going to church every Sunday was something I look forward to. I'm a big hymn man. I love hymns. So I'll sit in my cell listening to hymns. I'll go to church. I used to even go to some Bible study classes. I read the Bible. I've done a lot of reading. When times when I got in trouble and they sent me to the block, which is basically the hole, I read books as well. So one of my favorite books at the time was The Alchemist. I read The Alchemist from fantastic book. I recommend The Alchemist to anyone. Going to the gym, football. I mean, football is like, and that's why when I came out, I decided to create a football club because football was such a behavioral tool in prison. You couldn't just go and play football if you was on bad behavior. So
Mm,
everyone tried to behave. So the alarm bells will go off all week. There'll be fights, but when everyone knew there was football, everyone's in their best behavior. So football helped me massively, especially when I was in Feltham, because then you could play. We had different teams visiting us to come and play as well, which made it more worthwhile. I would say, yeah, definitely studying. And just making friends. Like there's a lot of people that you will meet who might change your life as well in terms of like the ideas that they give you in the legitimate. I mean, you might meet people who tell you what, I know how to smuggle more drugs in as well. So you have to be careful about those people as well. So
right.
yeah, I think different coping mechanism and your family as well. Visits
Mm,
help. A lot of times people like as prisoners we're selfish. We expect our families to give up their Saturdays, give up their times, and just to. But people got so much stresses they're going on with on the outside, and we're so selfish. We only care about ourselves sometimes as well. But visits do help.
right. Do they offer counseling in the prisons as well? And the reason I ask you that is because, there are various aims of sentencing, and it's not always meant to be punitive. Obviously, there needs to be some form of rehabilitation or reform for the
Mm.
individual. So, did they provide counseling for persons who perhaps were finding it either difficult to cope or just putting them in a space where, when they are in fact released, they are better than when they came in? Do they
Yeah,
offer that?
yeah, and there's different courses too, because that depends on the severity of how probation see you. And I was one of the people where probation saw me as a bit of a danger, so you had to do different courses to lower your risk. So at the beginning, I was high risk. I was a high risk prisoner, and then over time, after you complete all these courses, so there's counseling courses, there's ETS, which enhance thinking skills. There was victim awareness courses as well, where they put you in the shoes of your victim and how you may have what they may have gone
Right.
through and so on. And then there's also different sessions that you have with the Samaritans. And I was actually one of the Samaritan listeners, so they train up prisoners to actually go and talk to other prisoners who may struggle to sleep, who may struggle about what's going on, who may be getting bullied. So they train prisoners up to say, okay, look, your task is to actually be a peer to these other people who are struggling and to talk with them. And also, I used to work for the Shannon's Trust while I was in prison as well. And that was to help people who can't read and write. And you'd be surprised how many adults in the prison system who cannot read and write.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to know from you as well is it, from your opinion, would you agree that prison hardens people? Is there truth in that?
Some, I think yes and no. There's some people who go to prison and think to themselves, hell no, I'm never coming back here. There's some people who go to prison and, like I said, they might meet someone who's an even bigger gangster than they were, but they're like, oh, I like you. When we get out, let's do this together. So there's some people where prison actually brings them a different sort of network than they needed, and then yeah, it depends on the character. There's some people who go to prison and absolutely petrified. They're like, you know what, that was a rubbish experience. I'm never doing that again. On the other hand, there's people who are like, oh, that was okay. I don't. Okay, the risk is okay for them to go to prison. They'll do the crime, but for them, the risk of going to prison isn't that tough.
Right. And for you, you're probably better well placed to know. But if you had to say, do you see any sort of space or need for prison reform? If there's something that you could recommend based on what you have seen, aspects of it that you deem to be deficient, what would you say about that?
I would say it works both ways in regards to, I think the prison officers need to treat prisoners as human beings. I think before anything, first and foremost, they treat them as prisoners before they're human beings. So sometimes there's a disrespect and there's a bit of a we're better than you sort of thing. And straight away, if someone's telling you that they're better than you become anti towards them. So there's straight away there's a friction. And that's what causes a lot of issues and in prison as well. When you think the establishment is against you, you think the officers are against you. So therefore, it brings a lot of discourse within the prison. And I've actually, the prison association actually invited me a few times to go and speak to new prison officers who have just started to tell them about to humanize prisoners, not just treat them as animals or caged people, that they're actually human. So that's one of the things I think needs to change. I think there needs to be a mandatory, I mean, it's sort of mandatory already that you need to work while you're in prison, but I think there needs to be a mandatory things that people need to achieve before they leave prison, no matter how long they're doing it. Especially if you're doing 2 years or 3 years in prison, you must have goals that they set you that you must abide for. So if it is trying to get a degree, if it is doing some courses, because some people just go into jail and literally will get a job in the kitchen and that's it. When they come out, they've not learned any new skills. They've just been a cleaner in the kitchen. So I think there needs to be some sort of implementation of stricter sort of guidelines on qualifications that people get. Because once you release, at least you spend that time getting the qualifications. There's no point coming outside then looking for qualifications when you could have done them while you was in prison.
Yeah, because that's something I wanted to ask you as well. But there came a point, obviously, where you were released. Did you have a set plan this time? You know what you were going to do with your life. You know where you were headed. Did you have a plan in place on that essential second occasion?
Oh, 100%. I didn't know exactly what angle it would take, but I knew for myself that I'm gonna try and make a success of my life. And I thought I was gonna come out and be the greatest author ever, because the book that I'd written in jail, everybody was reading it. The prisoners were reading, the staff was reading it. I had a phone while I was in jail, and I used to give people snippets on Facebook. So I thought that's my angle. But at the same time, I wanted to get back into football. And initially, I was gonna start a team in Peckham, where I grew up. But then I looked up, and there's already teams in Peckham. So when I was living in Hackney, I thought, you know what? Let me start the team in Hackney. And I just knew straight away that I'm going to do something within football. I wasn't completely sure what it was. But once I was released and I saw the young people playing in Hackney Marshes and them telling me about their ambitions to play football at a higher level and there's no team over there, it set my mind straight away. So within 4 weeks of coming out of jail, I started the football club.
Okay, and would you say immediately after you came out as well, there was a definite need for you to change your environment and the persons that you were previously aligned with? Is that something that you did?
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, part of my probation rules were already that I couldn't hang around any of those associates anyway. But for me also, there wasn't a need to hang around with those associates, because these people have been hanging around with them since I was 18, 19 and 20 and going to prison. It's like, okay, we're now grown men, we're 28 years old. What do we need to do to hang around on streets? There's no need for, if there's a family function or there's a party, maybe so. But there wasn't a need for me. And then I also knew I wanted to build a relationship with my daughter. One of the things that one of my sisters told me one time, she asked, oh, how come my dad never picks me up from school? So that's one of the things that you should pull at my heartstrings, that I want to make sure. So there's a period where I would take her to school all the way from Hackney to Essex all the time. And yeah, so I made sure that I didn't, because they say nothing changes unless you change. So,
Right.
and there's a saying that my friend told me, it goes, if you do what you always done, you always get what you've always got. So
Right.
for me, was that if I kept on doing the same thing, I was gonna end up back in jail. So what's the point? So I thought, you know, I'm gonna make a change. I can't do it no more. One of the things that used to scare me as well, because when I was in prison, my brother had been shot, and fearing that he could be dead and me being in prison, those sort of things, they will galvanize me, say I can't do this. My grandma, my mum, I just think that, oh my God, what about if they pass away and I'm in prison? So those are the sort of things that said to me, look, you can't go back to jail. You're gonna struggle, but the struggle is gonna be worth it.
Right. And now that you're out, would you say that there are particular challenges that you face even still? Has it been smooth sailing for you or not really?
No, it's not been smooth sailing at all, man. I think this is on, I think maybe last year, about April time, was the first time where I felt a bit more financially secure. So from 2015, 2018, my whole thing was that any bit of money I got wasn't even for me. It was for the football club. So I had to sacrifice a lot in regards to, because I'm thinking to myself that I'm a young black owner of a
Right.
semi-professional football club in England. There's teams that have been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years who haven't got that status. I've only been going for a few years and I've reached that status. And for me, is that I can't afford to mess that up. But there are many other black people who may be inspired by my story and inspired that, you know, I want to own a football club one day as well. So I had to make sure that any money that was coming in was going to the club, even if I had to sort of sacrifice anything for myself as well. So it got to the point that where last year was the first time where we started getting a bit more funding to do what we wanted to do. And it's allowed us to expand a bit more, and now things have run a little bit more smoothly, but it's still a struggle because you've got a family. I've got two daughters. I've got other family members. There's rent, there's bills, and you have to make sure the football club keeps running. The football club costs like 25 to 30 grand a year just to run. So you have to make sure you raise that money as well every single year. So it is hard work and it is a struggle. And over the last 2 days, I've had random people call me, say, look, I want to start my own football team as well. What advice do you give? And I told them, look, go for it. You're going to get a lot of rejections. You're going to get a lot of people letting you down. But if you've got the passion and determination, there's no reason why it shouldn't happen.
Of course. Now, you've been incredibly entrepreneurial, but there are persons who will come out of prison who they might not have any family, they might not have any money, they have no help. For persons in that bracket, do you know of any organizations that will help them once they're out of prison to sort of get on their feet, get off the ground running, that
Yeah,
may assist them or their families?
yeah. There's St. Giles Trust. There's St. Mongols. Excuse me. Yeah, St. Giles Trust, St. Mongols. there's the probation, even the local authority as well, who could point you out to so many different places you can go to as well. There's Skyway. There's a lot of charities that help out. But what I like to tell people is that don't feel pressured. What is that? If you lived a certain lifestyle before and you've come out, you've got no money now, there's that pressure to keep up with everyone else, especially what happens with some of the older lot who are sort of renowned and they've come out, they ain't got the money, and see the younger lot of making a lot of money now, and there's that pressure. And what a lot of them do, sometimes they try to go and rob those new people and end up back in prison again. So for me, is that don't pressure yourself to compete with anyone, because you served your time on your own. When you come out, be easy. I think society is getting to a point now where people don't really laugh at other people's struggles. So if you come out and you admit I admit my struggles. When a company started paying me £28,000 a year, and I admit my struggles to them, I said, look, I've come out of jail, I'm running this football club, and this is what I need. And they're like, look, we're gonna help you, we're gonna employ you to actually help us create our charity for us. And I worked for them, but I ended up quitting in 2018 because our visions weren't aligned with where we wanted to go, sort of thing. But they're still great people. But that's because I was honest about, look, I've come out of jail, I've got no money, and this is my angle. I don't want to go back to jail. Can you help me? If you can't help me, can you put me in a path for other people who can help me? So if you're honest about that, but sometimes as well as black men, there's that sort of insecurity of if the mother of your child is asking you for money and you've not got it, instead of just being honest and say, oh, look, I ain't got it now, I can't afford it now. You try to sort of save face, and then you miss having to spend time with your child, because now the mother's resenting you because you feel under pressure, instead of just saying, look, right now I can't do it. And if you say that, that eases the pressure, because what happens, some people are like, oh my God, I can't afford to look after my kids, I need to go and do more crime, and then you're back in jail again where you can't help your kids as well. So there's that balance that you need to try to get a hold of.
Right. I mean, you've touched on the football club as well, but this is just a section where I want to highlight all the positive things that you've been doing with your life. And one of those things, like you said, you know, you founded the football club. You started that while you were in prison, you said?
So as I came up with the idea of starting something, but it wasn't really the football club while I was in jail. It's like, you know what, I want to do something around football. And it was while talking to a group of young people in the Hackney area who told me, like, there's no football team around here. And that was like maybe 2 weeks after I came out of jail. And I told them, look, guys, I'm going to start my own football team. And that's where the idea came from. And from the back of that, I knew football. Like I said, football was a behavioral tool in prison that kept people out of trouble. So I wanted to use that same sort of theory in prison, outside of prison, by creating these opportunities and platform for young kids to be supported by professional clubs that might then change their whole family's life and keep them out off the streets. So on the back of that, we also started a women's team. Then we started a youth academy. We've got an all-star team. We work with Arsenal Fan TV. We go into prisons and do workshops. We're going to schools and do workshops. We've got a youth centre that's got a music production. We're actually filming a drama series. There's so much going on, and obviously I've created my own drama series as well. And I've got a reality show, Speed Daters. Yeah, there's so many things. Obviously now Bob's Tabba as well. So things just, and for me, sometimes to the detriment of my family, because I don't get that much time to spend with them all the time. But especially what I've done lately is that I do 3 days on Bob's Tabba, 3 days off. And in those 3 days, I just spend time with the family and just help out, because my missus is also still working. She works for a fashion brand, and she can't just be with a baby by herself all day, because that becomes stressful as well. So it's that trying to find that balance to make sure that I'm supporting her as well, because sometimes she tells me she doesn't feel supported because I'm always out doing whatever I'm doing. So it's about me trying to understand that as well.
So you have a football club that you founded. One of the things that I thought was really remarkable, like you said, you're offering qualifications. It's BTEC qualifications to persons who enroll. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Like you said, you talked about your food business. You have a book out. Like you said, about the production that's being made about your life. All of these wonderfully positive things that you've managed to implement, you know, since your time out of prison. And I think, if anything, that's just an example to people as to what they can manage to achieve, and that it isn't always doom and gloom. You know, when you come out of prison, there definitely is hope. But again, it's about mindset and what you choose to do with your life. I want to just end that particular section of it just you giving your last piece of advice to the youth, particularly those who may find themselves in, those current set of circumstances, who may want to come out, they find themselves doing things that they don't necessarily want to do. What would be your last piece of advice to them that you can give?
Yeah, I get messages nearly every single day, and I feel bad sometimes because so many comes through that I don't get to sort of read. But the times when I get a chance to read a few of them, you get a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old who told me, like, honestly, read your inspiration, and what you've done has made me sort of change my life around. I was doing A, B, and C, and I realized that that's going to lead me to the wrong path, and I get overwhelmed when I receive these messages. And my encouragement to young people is that, look, let me be an example. After this, after my interview with you, I got another one at 9:30
Yeah, I
with
saw
someone
it
from
great.
Peckham who was one of, yeah. So it's one of those ones that where he's even more better suited to talk about his life than even my life, because his one's even more remarkable in regards to what the status that he had. So if someone like him, who sort of society deemed as this sort of person, and if he can change his life and he's telling you these things, these are the warning signs. And they always say, if you don't hear, you'll feel. And I've spoken, I've told you my story. I've told you about the amount of friends I've killed, the amount of friends that have been killed, and all these
Mm,
people that are being killed. And it's more than 20. It's probably pushing up to 30. It's probably pushing up to 30 friends that I know that are being killed on the streets of London. And you don't want to be that victim. You don't want to be, and besides that, I've got another 15 or so friends who are doing life in prison. So these are the
yeah.
stories I give back to you guys so you guys can see. So I've done my job in telling you. I've done my job
Mhm.
in providing a football club. I've done my job in providing a drama school, and providing music production, providing a college. So if all these things are there for you, it's only up to you how, because no one in London is going to tell you, because in America it's a bit different. Like, if you join a gang and if you decide to leave a gang, they want to end up killing you. In London, you decide, no, I don't leave a gang, I don't want to be in a gang no more. More times people respect you and say, you know what, fair dues, it's not for you. So it's not too late for you
Right.
to decide, you know what, this ain't for me no more. So if you're listening, take heed.
Mm. I know there are some questions that were posed to you that I saw in the live, and I want to give people just an opportunity to ask you questions now. So if anyone has any burning questions for Bobby that they would like answered, you can ask them now, and obviously he will try and answer them best for you. I think I saw one earlier where someone was asking you, what are your fears, if you have any?
What are my fears? I think my fear, and why I work so hard, I believe, is not being able to provide for my family.
Right.
I don't feel like a man if I can't support my family. It makes me feel weak. It makes me feel like I'm not doing enough. So that's one of my greatest fears, and that's why I work so hard to try to create some form of legacy that allows income to keep coming, that makes sure that they're okay. One of the things that I
Right.
decided to do was that we're not here forever, right? So I decided to take out life insurance, that so should I pass, two of my children will be set to start whatever business they want to and have a career, and sort of gives them a sort of foot up. Because I think a lot of times as black people, especially in the UK, I guess across the world sometimes, we're not sort of financially intelligent. People don't tell us about life insurance. People don't tell us
Mhm.
about investing. People don't tell us about savings. So for me, it's all about trying to create these pathways for my children, that they know these things from the beginning. So if I'm no longer here, they are at least okay.
Right. I know someone here had a question about a semi-pro club. How do you make money from semi-pro? I don't know if that's a question you want to answer.
As a semi-pro club, you hardly make any money. You're more spending money than anything. But one of the things how you can make money, if your club is supported by people, they can buy your jerseys, they come to games, pay for their attendance, sponsorship. So people, if other companies want to sponsor you, that's another way you can make money. We get funding and so on. So there's different avenues you can make to try to make money, maybe create a YouTube channel for your team that brings you YouTube and advertising revenue. So it's difficult. I honestly tell people, if you want to start a football team, it's very, very difficult, but you need to just have that passionate determination.
All right. Someone says here, what was the most challenging aspect of prison?
Oh, missing your family and the food. You're like not being able to just see my daughter, not being able to just see my mum, and only seeing them like on a visit once in a little while. And then the food, you miss your sort of homemade African food. And I mean, the prison will try on Black History Month. They may have a segment where they'll do like a jerk chicken. They'll get someone to cook jerk chicken, but that'll be like once in a blue moon. So one of the most difficult aspects.
Okay. And someone says here, what was it like having a child born while you were inside? Did the experience change your perspective?
Oh, it was horrendous. But at the same time, I was excited, and I remember they moved me from a different prison a week before my child was born, and I was pissed off about that at the time. But it was difficult, and I remember seeing her for the first time. She was so tiny. I think she was only like 3 weeks old when they first brought her to me, and I was like, "I'm a father. This is crazy. Like, what the hell?" I was 21 years old at the time, and telling myself like, "Damn, I'm a father." And yeah, it made you want to sort of say, you know what, don't get involved in this. But like I said, within coming out of prison that time, what I explained earlier, I felt like, oh, I can't provide for her. Damn, I can't provide for her. Let me just do my crime again to provide. And that's not what she needed. She just needed me there. She just needed me to be honest with her mom and say, look, I've come out of jail. I can't really afford anything at the moment. But it's that sort of ego that you have as a man, that and pride. You don't want to be honest about not being able to sort of give what they need at the time.
Someone's asking, what's your thoughts about the George Floyd situation in America?
Oh, that is, you know what? I was speaking to my missus earlier and was having sort of a one-to-one. We spoke about for about half an hour, and I tell her I try to avoid even watching it, and because it reminds me there's so much injustice in the world. I mean, this one's a bit going off topic, but I remember when I was in Pentonville in 2011, and my cousin will testify to this, that I saw that they killed Colonel Gaddafi, right? And I was
Mm,
livid. I was actually angry. My cousin's like, why are you so angry? I'm like, because there's so much injustice in the world. I mean, these are the same people who sold him airplanes and sold him guns. And now these are the same people that are killing him. And similar to what's happening now with George Floyd, is like, it just brings out some form of anger in me. And I try to keep away. I try to not have that
I
emotion.
get that.
I try to
Yeah.
have a feeling of, okay, let's be calm. Let's see what we can do. But then you start thinking, there's nothing we actually can do. This is the authority. These are who own everything. They make the decisions. And we can go and riot today. Once we riot, 20 of us are in jail for rioting, and then we get a criminal record and so on. So you always kind of feel defenseless. And one of the things when I speak to my missus, she's like, what do you think we can actually do? I said, as Black people, we need to start realizing how powerful we are as a
Mm,
people. I said, look at the top 10 US songs in the US charts right now. It's predominantly Black. It just shows the US Billboard music is predominantly Black. It shows how much influence we have. If we now say, okay, you know what? Let's just start investing in ourselves. Let's take away the dollar from what they do. Let's put the dollar back into our own communities. And that's one of the things that my missus, she got a business called itsblackowned.com, where she highlights the best in Black products. And it's about us
okay.
recognizing how powerful we are as people and try to do more things to empower ourselves. Because there's nothing we can really do about George Floyd. We can go and protest today. We can go and try to burn down the shop, burn down the police, but that's not going to get you nowhere, because they're always going to
Mm,
win. So it's about us now empowering ourselves and doing better for our community, so we don't allow ourselves be in the positions where we always feel threatened by the police. We don't allow ourselves to feel that we can't win in society, because we are winning in society, but we allow other people to take our dollars instead of investing it back into our own communities.
100%. I agree with you on that. I think we'll probably just take two more questions and then we can end. Someone says, how did you deal with rejection when you were starting up?
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, you get like funny enough, like with my book, even when I was writing my books in jail, I thought this is the best book ever. Everyone in jail telling me, oh my God, this book is amazing. So I'll send that copies to literary agents, and it'll be rejection after rejection after rejection. And now to the point, I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to say this properly, but I've got a company's bought the rights to my life story, basically, and they're going to be making it into a drama series besides the one I'm filming myself. So that's all from the back of my books. So all those rejections you get, you just keep plugging away, because I say the universe will always give you back what you give out. So all the hard work I put into it has now come back to me. And these are, so rejection is something that you have to take, but you use it. For me, use that rejection as fuel to keep going, to prove people wrong. That's what I'll say. Use it to prove people wrong, basically.
Absolutely. I'll just answer this question from Lionel. So he's asking me, how did I get into law? So I did law at college, and I also went on to do law at university as well. And then after uni, I took a break and I started working. I was working at the Ministry of Legal Affairs, attached to the Director of Public Prosecutions. And then after some time, I decided to go and do the bar just quite recently, actually. So did the bar in London. It's called the bar. Well, they've changed the name now. But essentially, it's a really, really difficult course. I'm not going to lie to anybody. You will have lots of sleepless nights. You'll be incredibly sleep deprived. But at the end of the day, if it's something that you want to do, it's going to drive you to do it. And essentially, that was my route into this. Let me see if there's at least a question for you, Bobby. Someone's asking me here, what is your opinion on black fathers?
What's my opinion
We
on
have
black fathers?
boys, should black boys with absent fathers seek a relationship with their fathers?
It's not for me. It's not for the boys to seek a relationship with the fathers. It's for the fathers to be there in the first place. How can you expect your child to go and look for you? For me, that's crazy. That's a crazy concept. The father should always be there. And for me, like I said, like I hear stories of so many kids who were abandoned by their parents. And for me, you can't. And especially with my second daughter, it was like I was there. I saw with my first daughter, I was in prison, so I didn't get to experience all of that. But with my second daughter, I was there when she was being developed in the stomach. I was there when she was kicking. I'm there when she was delivered and seeing her walk and talk for the first time. The love I have for this girl is so crazy that how can you ever abandon your child? That's, for me, doesn't make sense. Even if you don't get along with the mother, that is no excuse for you not to be there with your child. There is no excuse. Even if you can do 1 week, 1 day a week, there's no excuses. And for me, it shouldn't be that the kids go to look for the parent. The parent should be there regardless.
100%, I agree with you absolutely on that. I think, Bobby, we'll probably end it here. I just want to obviously say thank you very much for even entertaining this conversation. Again, like I said earlier, these are conversations that are necessary, they need to be had, and they're important. I'm incredibly impressed by what you have managed to achieve. I'm incredibly impressed by what you continue to do and how you continue to give back to not just your community, but to everyone that you seemingly come across. And it's inspirational even for me. I don't think it matters who you are. At the end of the day, when you see someone doing something great, you should really applaud them and appreciate that for them. So I'm grateful to you for this. I think it was an incredibly insightful conversation. I hope that it was beneficial for those of you who are watching and you really can take something away from this. And you and I will definitely catch up. I think there's other things
I
that we'll
appreciate
talk
it.
about later on, about other aspects of things that we're going to do. So thank you very much. I'm going to catch your live later as well. So I
Yeah.
look forward to watching that.
Thank you for
And
having me.
thank you very much. No
And I
worries. Thank
and I'd
you.
just like to say as well, like, thank you for having me, and you're also a role model as well, because like I think even young black women need to see that our sisters can actually go out there and become great people and great leaders themselves also. Thank you for what you do too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And we'll catch up soon. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone, for
Thank you.
tuning in. All
All
right.
right.
Bye bye.